Jamar Chase reportedly looking at 40 million a year. We'll get into this coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast. Ace and Zim.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
This video is brought to you by BETUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Welcome, guys, to the Wincinnati podcast. I'm Ace, he's Zim. We got a big slate today. A couple of things to talk about, but before we get into that, Zim, you said you was cooking some people over there at AFC North Roundtable. Talk to the people. What happened over there?
First and foremost, let me give a shout out to everybody watching this right now. If you are anywhere in the world, and I don't get that chicken I was just eating off my face. If you're anywhere in the world and you are watching this right now, make sure you send this to a friend. We appreciate you guys. Make sure y'all subscribe and cut on y'all alerts. On this other show that I was on, just giving some people some ball knowledge. Once you tell people that you're a Bengals fan and you understand you haven't won those Super Bowls, it's a slippery slope for a lot of people. Because once you acknowledge that, are we talking football? We're talking whatever. And I just understand that I could eliminate all your arguments. The only argument that you could have over our Cincinnati Bengal fans is that we don't have Super Bowls. That is it. And somebody on the panel, shout out to my boy Zay, literally said, all these arguments, and the Steelers do, literally, nobody would have these arguments against the Bengals if they just hit Jamar Chase on a touchdown pass at the end of that game. Like, literally, you would have nothing you could say to us. One of the worst things that could happen to an AFC North person is if the Bengals win the Super Bowl. The Browns will be disgusting too, but if the Bengals win a Super Bowl, I don't know what they're going to do. Think about this. And shout out to, everybody in the North. I feel like there's some very talented rosters. Prayers up for Denzel Ward. I hope he gets everything together because that's tough. I think that they're kind of downplaying it because I get it as a fan. You want your players to do really well, and you get so excited for the season. And it sucks for me because I'm a big proponent of putting good energy out in the world and stuff like that. That is really messed up to see that happening because I would hate for that to happen to one of our guys. So I hope that situation gets straight. And there's so many different things going on in the North around us, but I'm so glad that we could come right around the bend and spin the block and pull up right back to Wincinnati and get back to what we do best, partner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, coming up on today's show, Chase reportedly wants 40 million a year. We'll talk into that in specific detail. We'll go into the nitty-gritty of that and what that really means from a Bengals standpoint. We're going to also review the Bengals and Colts joint practice from the other day. So plenty of nuggets to discuss there. Position battles. It's been a while since we revisited this. We're going to take a look at what positions and who's the winner there, cornerback, wide receiver. We'll get into all of that. And then which sleeper we think makes the final 53. The Bengals are one game away from that moment. So we'll talk about that coming up next. All right, man. It dropped this morning. Looks like Local Skinny told people on ESPN 1530 that he's heard that Jamar Chase and his camp are looking for a 4-year deal in the $160 million range with $120-ish million guaranteed from the Bengals. Now, when a lot of people first heard this, they were like, hold on, Jamar Chase wants $5 million a year, more than average than Justin Jefferson. A lot of people were talking about his deal. I saw a lot of crashing out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not trying to call y'all out, but it was a lot of crashing out on the timeline. Won't say who or anything like that, but it was a lot of crashing out at first, and understandably so. Like most people were like, "Oh my God, what is this?" But when you look at the fine details,
or how's really, Mike going to pay it? Most people was like, "What is Mikey going to do?"
For sure, exactly. But when you really look at it, and I think some people looked at it from a cap perspective, it's really 190 over 6 years, which equals out to 31.67 million a year. Which, in comparison to Jefferson, his is at 157 million at 5 years. That gives his average 31.4 million. So technically, that is Chase leaping over a guy like Justin Jefferson. So a lot of people were freaking out. What were your thoughts, Zim, when you first saw this?
When I first saw it, like I told you, me and you was on the phone. We had a good conversation earlier. I mean, that's what I knew that he wanted all along. Like, right. I mean, and that is what it is. But I will say this: he told everybody when he was at the Super Bowl weekend and he was doing the interviews. He said, "I want to get paid more than Justin Jefferson." I thought it was Ben Baby or somebody asked him, "How would you like it?" He said, "I want my cash up front." Like, y'all gotta go back and go look. I don't know if Bengals fans are just skipping past some of the stuff, but when you look at the way that is. You know how to do the crazy part about this. It's a lot of different factors, and I'm gonna try to simplify as much as I can. I don't want this to be like some drawn out thing where we're like pocket watching. But one, if you're a Bengals fan, you have to get into the whole concept of all these teams have 3 players getting 100 to 120 million. Most of these teams have 2 players getting 80 plus. You could go look at the Chiefs, you could go look at the Browns, you could go look at whatever team you want. This is the new norm. Second point, you have to look at the money as a percentage to the cap. The number always comes out and you're like, what? But in a couple years, just like Joe Burrow's contract, now the cap hits are going to hit later on Joe Burrow's contract. But the reason why Joe Burrow was extended early is because you give him cash up front so that it strengthens the guarantees. But the cap hits of his rookie deals are still in place for year 4 and year 5. That's the same thing that's happening to Jamar Chase. I don't want this to get like some overcomplicated conversation, but the reason why you pay guys early, like the Eagles did with Devonta Smith, or the Dolphins did with Jayden Waddle, or the Bengals did with Joe Burrow, is because you're softening the blow of the cap hits in the early years. And then on the back end, you're saying, I don't mind those as much because the cap is always going to be going up. And that's the simplest way that I could put it. If you wait, it puts you in a hard spot where you're like, now the player is now going to be asking for far more than $40 million. Like Jamar Chase, I don't care if he doesn't play the full season. Anybody saying you got to wait till somebody messaged me and said he got to wait till later on. It doesn't matter if he waits. Look at Justin Jefferson. He didn't finish the whole year. He still set the market. Why? Because he's 24 years old and ascending. So you have to, it's super rare. It doesn't happen that often. But this is a rare instance with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. They had extreme leverage in a market that it was already going up. So it doesn't really happen like this all the time, but it's already going up. The guarantees are the shaky part, I'm guessing, for the Bengals, but he's 24 years old. So the risk of, say, somebody like, I don't know, like a 28-year-old guy and up, you don't have the same amount of risk because you watch Jamar Chase at 21, 22 years old be one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. You know that you're going to have at least another 4 or 5 prime years. And if this deal lines up the way that I think it should, then it guarantees that you have at least under contract. Now, they can renegotiate later on, but it will put Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase under contract all the way to 2030. And like I said, you said, the life of it, the deal itself is now giving you 6 years. That's the discount that Jamar Chase is giving you. Instead of a 3-year deal, he's a 4-year deal so that you can eat a little bit of cap. And this year right now, he's got a $5 million cash advance or whatever. You give him a big fat signing bonus of $40, $50 million. I don't know. You give him that up front. So Bengals got the cash. They ain't spend none this offseason. Get that out the way. And then later on, even next year, the cap hit isn't that crazy. And then you're paying $31 million on average for the life of the contract. The only argument against it is if Jamar Chase turns out to be a bust like 2-3 years from now. You're like, why would you guarantee all that money? Bro, come on. This is a rare situation. This is why Jamar Chase knows what we know. You didn't pay Jesse Bates. You didn't pay Tee Higgins. Pay the money and like let's move on and let's get to the next thing. because in a year or two from now, when somebody else gets paid, they probably won't eclipse him, but it'll probably be somebody that sucks that's getting paid damn near the same thing. His contract gonna look beautiful. 2 years from now, he'll probably be like the 8th highest paid. Like, get it over with and understand that the cap is gonna go higher.
No, I agree. I mean, this situation, it's a no-brainer for me that you extend Jamar Chase. He is literally the second best player on the team. He is a foundation of this team. And so, of course, you want to make sure that you extend that. Like you just said, you want Burrow and Chase around for the next 6 years. I mean, who wouldn't want that? That would be a perfect situation for us. And then he's still extremely young. So that would essentially be him spending his prime years as a Bengal. It makes too much sense. Now, Bengals are going to have to break away from their typical guarantees, like not jumping up on the percentage. They're going to have to with Jamar Chase. Like, you can't sit around and kind of play this, oh, we're not going over 50 kind of deal. Like, nah, you're going to have to go into the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, maybe even 80s, because Jamar Chase is going to demand that, and you're going to have to come to the table and do that. Now, some people are saying, go ahead.
Oh, good. No, go ahead.
No, some people, I see somebody in the chat, 40 million is crazy. We just gave you guys the context on what it actually is. It's really 31 million.
They got to catch it. If you're still in the chat saying that, you got to go back and play this. And I don't know, maybe I think me and Ace are trying to simplify as much as, because there's so many other things that we could factor in the deal. They could have rolling guarantees, all these different things in the literature to make it so that it softens the blow. But just like Orlando Brown got the $31 million up front, the Bengals could cut the check up front and say, we believe in this guy for the next 2-3 years. And then he already had the 5th-year option of $25 million already signed up for like the following year. So like on an annual, like the salary and stuff like that, they're not tripping off that. The guarantees that they normally don't go that high with, I think this is a rare occasion where, to me, if I'm the Bengals, I don't want to pay guarantees later on. But one way to get away from that is just pay a lot of cash up front. But this is a rare occasion where I think guaranteeing the money actually works in their favor, so to speak. Like, not being on the hook to pay it, but being able to tell everybody we locked in our quarterback and our wide receiver long term. They're with us, like, and it's understood. So every year you don't have to talk about, oh, is Jamar Chase going to get traded? Like, that's what they're going to say if you didn't have a lot of guarantees already attached to it. He's already locked. Like, if you did it, you'd be locked in. And I think they would have to, it's their money. But from a PR standpoint, it says a lot to me. It says that we got the best 2 players in the world locked up long term. And nobody can do anything about it because we're not going to move on from it. You can't trade for them. I just think it just says a lot to a lot of people. I did see one comment that said that he doesn't have the same numbers as Justin Jefferson. You have to think, in his first full season, he broke every record known to man and had over 1,800 yards. The next closest person that did that in their rookie season was Randy Moss with 1,400 yards. He's already eclipsed it. If someone brings up first-team All-Pros, hello, we're Bengals fans. You're not going to get no first-team All-Pros with the Bengals unless you absolutely dominated the sport. And like, think about what we gripe about every year. Like, our coach doesn't get no AP votes, even though he went to back-to-back AFC championship games. Nobody respects our coaches. Nobody gives it. The only All-Pros on the team is Trey Hendrickson and Jamar Chase, and they're not first-team All-Pros. And that's crazy. And you're not going to get All-Pros. So from a negotiation standpoint, whoever that was, you couldn't then go to the room and say, well, he's not first team All-Pro like Justin. Yeah, the Bengals don't vote our players that. When we get top 100 lists, they don't give us that.
And the thing is, too, like, bringing that up, okay, that's fine. However, you have a second team All-Pro, right? You also had him break the rookie receiving record, like you just pointed out, until Puka Nacua also did it, but I think Jamar did it in less games, like you said. But here's the other thing. Jamar Chase hasn't been hurt like Justin Jefferson did. We're missing a bunch of last season. So you talk about Jetta's coming off of an injury. He had to kind of take a little bit less than he probably would have had if he would have been able to finish the season. So that's a factor to bring into account as well, is Jamar Chase played majority of last season. It wasn't a situation where he missed games or is coming off of an injury or anything like that. So I get it because these guys are always going to get compared, I feel like, for the rest of their careers. But to me, it's like, I think if you asked anybody, like, hey, do you want Jettas or Jamar Chase? I don't feel like they would feel like whichever person that they got that they lost on that one. Like, so I think anybody would take either two of those guys, and they both probably view them, if not close to each other, like one is maybe slightly by a hair better than the other.
Right. If we did an NFL fantasy draft in real life right now, those are the two first wide receivers drafted because of their age. Not be and somebody, there's a Dolphins fan sitting there like, what? Over Tyreek? Yeah, bro, he's 30, 31 or something like that or whatever. If you're starting up a franchise, the first two wide receivers that would be picked, it wouldn't be no Devontae Adams or nobody like that. It'd be Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson because the league is based off of age and ascending talent and getting the most production that you can, and that is his value. And the simplest way to say this too, that's very different that you cannot quantify is, and I saw you say this, and we said this, you're not winning a Super Bowl. You're not beating, let's slow it down a little bit. You're not beating the Kansas City Chiefs in a playoff format without Jamar Chase. So if you're telling everybody you want to win a Super Bowl, you can't be selling that to somebody like me and probably not you on the strength of, I know that you're not, like, the people that fall off that can't beat them don't have weapons. The only team that can consistently beat them or has beat them, you have to have weapons. And to bring up a comparison of like them with Tyreek Hill, think about it. He's much older, trying to get top money at that age. Now, he's gone on to the Dolphins and had a lot of success. But they were able at that point when they got to that crossroads, the same way that the Bengals got to the crossroads with Joe Mixon, Carlos Dunlap, Tyler Boyd, all these guys are all 28 years old. And at that point, yeah, we wouldn't be talking no crazy contracts and stuff then. When Jamar Chase is 27, 28 years old, he could be the number one wide receiver in the world. If he then wanted to say, I want to be the highest paid wide receiver, then we got a real good, we got to compare and look at stuff and what's the return. But at this age, what are we doing? If you're not willing to pay Jamar Chase, what are you drafting him for? Like, isn't the dream to go draft a guy and say, I want him to be the best at his position?
And you know, I'm not trying to call people out in the chat, but me and you kind of talked about this. We were like, if people hear this and just think it's 40 million, they're gonna turn on him. They're gonna talk about trade him, get rid of him. You know why that doesn't make sense? Joe Burrow would not be happy at all with that. Like, you don't want to mess up the relationship with Joe Burrow as well. So like, that to me would be a bad move because it's just not gonna happen, bro. Like, Chase has all the leverage. One of the best players on the team. Jamar is his guy. It's going to come down to Joe coming in there and probably saying, we need to get this done before you would ever see Jamar Chase get traded.
Yep. And I feel like, you know, say you're a person that says that I don't think nobody should get paid that amount of money. Like, I've given comparisons about the real world, and like when you go to work, like you're not about to go get paid. Like, I get it. These are millionaires and it seems different, but it's no different than when we go to work. If the dude right there next to us in the cubicle is not as good as me, and I'm watching all these guys like Waddle and all these dudes like that, no shade towards them, watching them get significantly more than Jamar Chase in this upcoming season, guys that came in the same draft class as him, as Devonta Smith and Waddle and guys like that, and all those guys got paid early, all those guys are making significantly more than him, then it's natural just in America. I don't know about other countries. I haven't seen their work infrastructure, but I'm pretty sure they probably feel the same way. If I'm doing a job better than you, then I need to get paid accordingly. Now, some people can say, I'll wait till my turn, but in a gladiator sport that we're playing, where we're watching guys go down like flies and get hurt a couple weeks and you don't know if tomorrow's going to be there in that sense. And that's the part where I understand that. Whereas at our job, you don't know that. Like, I might get fired or something, right? Like if I'm working a 9 to 5,
and then NFL
and I don't get paid.
NFL players' cases, they only have a portion of their contracts guaranteed. So if they are laid off, they don't get the rest of that money or anything like that. So that's another
That's
conversation.
where it's
Let's keep it
at.
on
Yeah.
something. Let's switch to something more positive, right? Like we trying to have good vibes on the show. So let's
Yes,
talk
sir.
about the Bengals and Colts joint practice, bro. Like a lot of stuff was going on here. From what I've seen, a lot of Dax Hill. Let's continue something that we did last week, though. Glovegate. Glovegate. Talk to me. What's the update on Glovegate? Where's Joey B's hand at? Like, what kind of glove did he have on? Like, did he have it on during throws? What's next on Glovegate?
Hey, Glovegate looking like it's like it had a 24-hour cycle at this point. That thing got cooked when he played them daggone Colts. I got it charted at 23 for 26 if you include the 7-on-7s or whatever. From any of the videos and stuff that I that I posted, I don't have like the vantage point of like the offense or whatever. Like if you're in between, you either gonna pick one or the other, and it's hard to get like video on both. So yeah, from what I've seen or what I've seen afterwards and people telling me or whatever, Joe Burrow is very crisp, and all the reports and everything kind of highlight that. There are a bunch of highlights and stuff on there. I thought even when he threw the out route to Tee Higgins and he had the sky up to go get it, it was perfectly thrown to the outside shoulder and everything was on point. I think the glove itself might have a little bit of something with it more than what he maybe is letting on. Maybe he felt like post surgery, this is what happens, and it's going to be like that probably for a while for him until everything heals perfectly. And Jerry in the comments said something like that with the PTSD, the compression sleeve. I wouldn't rule it past him. I don't think this is the case, and I'm just speculating. Let's say it was like some kind of compression thing just to be like assertive in like, I want to make sure that I don't have any problems with my wrist or whatever. He might be taking that approach, or he might have experienced some soreness. You don't know, but I'll tell you this, he was throwing dots, and I don't think it was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, offense was on fire. Dax Hill was on fire, had a bunch of plays that he broke up. Bengals offense just really looked good. I think you kind of stated it. The big thing that came out of this, though, was that Myles Murphy ended up going down. Ends up not being as serious as we initially thought. So his brother tweeted that out. Basically, that he's going to have an MCL sprain, should miss a few weeks. And he says that he'll be back by the Burrowhead game at the latest. So that is good news to hear. As you mentioned, Joe Burrow was sharp, especially in the short to intermediate game, 26 of 32, 2 touchdowns and an interception. From all accounts, it seems like the Bengals were cooking the Colts. And I mean, I heard something earlier, which I kind of agree with. Like, I'm glad and happy that they're doing their thing, right? But like, I'm not trying to like talk bad about the Colts, but like, you should do that against the Colts. I guess that should be expected for a team that went to the AFC Championship, for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, compared to a team that's really trying to find its way with a rookie quarterback. You should come in there and be able to do your thing against them. So I'm still happy about it, though, right? Because this is against starters. You do have guys like Michael Pittman. You do get to see guys like Adonai Mitchell, who's a rookie. But at the end of the day, you get to see guys like Jonathan Taylor. So you're going to get some good looks. But if you're thinking that the Colts are like Baltimore or like the Chiefs, I wouldn't take it that far, but I do appreciate how we played against them, but I'm not going to take it and look into it too much more than that.
Bro, these comments is crazy. I'm so glad that Victor Pate, or is that Victor Pat? I'm sorry if I'm but bro, that's funny as hell. We're going to read that in a second. Or let me read it now. Victor Pate 24 says JB Joe Burrow should show up with a Michael Jackson glove and moonwalk in sideline tomorrow. You know how wild that would be.
He gonna show up with the little Vogue runway with the back out and the glove on.
That would be wild. They're gonna cook us. They're gonna be like, bro. I was on the North joint. They were like, I'm surprised Zim doesn't have his back out right now. Them people do not like the Joe Burrow fashion show joint. I didn't think that much of it, but they're not.
The craziest part was he decided for the back to be out.
Bro, that they not gonna let the back out go forever. They was like, bro, somebody in the comments was like, I bet you won't turn around. I was like, what? And then somebody else in the comments said Joe should be sponsored by Dippin' Dots because he's just throwing dots everywhere, bro. This is fun. I'm so glad that we're getting back to football. Can I say some good things?
Hold on. Somebody pull this out. Lucky, shout out to Lucky. If the Bengals win a Super Bowl, I will dye my hair blonde, bro. I swear to God.
You know I have
do it with me. You gonna do it with me?
I would, brother. But I'm gonna tell you this: I have a bet right now, or I don't know what you call it, but I've already done that. I have to go get the haircut that the owner from the Raiders has if we win the Super Bowl. You know, the bowl cut from Al Davis or whatever bro name is. I have to go get that and actually show up like to events and stuff with the cut. So
events like that, that's crazy. Somebody asked the facial hair. I'm not doing the AB. I'm not doing the AB with the. Can't do that.
What's the Bengals? I see Game On in the crowd. What's the Bengals great? What's the bro that the year before I said if we went to the Super Bowl, I had to go get that cut. What's the dude with the little weird haircut that had like it was like a ponytail, but it was like a weird one. He's like an upscale Bengal person. It was like bald at the top or something like that, and then he had a rat tail at the back. Somebody in the comments, somebody like tell me what that guy's name is. Can I say something real quick? Going back to the Colts one. One thing I will tell you about this, Anthony Richardson, I don't know from a fantasy football standpoint or whatever, but that team is big. Like that is a big team. Those are large people. Mm-hmm. Everybody that is getting off the bus over there, their offensive line is crazy. Those are some large human beings over there. So I think with the stuff that he was doing and then like the scramble and you heard like the reports of our players talking trash to him, there's a little bit of validity to it. If bro wants to go and scramble, he's 6'4", 260 pounds. He looks like an edge rusher or something like that. He is a large person. So that dude, I do think if he could put it all together, it's going to be a problem. And their offensive line, I think this is a good thing for us. I think that their offensive line might be top 2 in the NFL. There's only one team I can think of a better offensive line. Think about this, the worst person on their offensive line is probably Quentin Nelson right now. Them dudes are
stacked. Working with our boy Willie. You seen that? He was working with Willie.
Bro, they are stacked right there up front. So however they put it together and run with it, I don't know. But I will say that I thought that he looked he was getting cooked on a lot of stuff. Dax Hill was everywhere. They did have a touchdown later on in that drive. Burrow only had his 2 touchdowns in 7-on-7. So a lot of Colts fans was like, you didn't get that in the 11-on-11s. And I was like, okay, but he was 23 for 26. The ball barely even touched the ground. So he was cooking, but Osai had a big sack. Like, so I said all that about the Colts offensive line to say that, bro, Myles Murphy forced Anthony Richardson out of the pocket one time and forced him to scramble. There was a lot of good that was happening on the defensive end, and Dax Hill, Myles Murphy of the world, Jermaine Pratt. I posted a video on my Twitter where he's feeling I was going to finish that sentence, but I know you was going to be on me later on. But he was filling the line of scrimmage in run support, and so that was really good though. And Jenkins was good too. He was going crazy. Sheldon Rankins had some really good one-on-one stuff. So there was so much stuff that was answered, I think, a little bit. And I value the joint practices more than preseason.
No, for sure. And don't forget the clip that we showed earlier. Logan Wilson with the interception.
Yep. CTB getting his hand in there.
CTB getting his hand in. But we got to pay some bills, so we're going to play a video from our sponsor, BETUS.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
All right, definitely be sure to check out BetUS. We've got a link in the description. Let's move on to the position battles. This is something that we've constantly kind of visited throughout the show at different sections of training camp, now through the preseason. With 1 game left, we got a couple of battles going on. So, right tackle, that one's going to be interesting because Mims is down right now. We've got your boy back and Trent Brown doing his thing there. Cornerback 2, Dax versus DJ Turner. Nickel corner, because they've been throwing DJ in at the nickel too, versus
It's a
Mike
good one.
Hilton. What
Yes.
is that looking like? Safety, primarily kind of the Von Bell position, and then wide receiver 3. So let's kick it off with wide receiver 3. What are your thoughts, bro?
I think we're going to start off with Yoshi. I think is the wide receiver 3. I think the rotation, or like Joe Burrow has said, there's going to be a rotation of guys. But I think snap wise, Yoshi will get more snaps than all of those guys at the wide receiver 3 position. But in terms of personnel, you kind of alternate them and switch them out. I think Burton is a long shot to me to get wide receiver 3, but I think wide receiver 4 is very much on the table. But I think early on they might go with Trent Irwin, the more short-handed person.
That's what I was. Is it Trent Irwin at the beginning of the season? So let's talk about that. Wide receiver 4 is pretty much more intriguing, like you said.
If T.I.'s wide
receiver 3, I don't know.
That is disgusting. That is disgusting. Yoshi, I'm dead serious, dog. I'm so tired of my whole thing about Burton is there's a tendency for our coaching staff to let people off the hook. And I think that Burton and Yoshi represent something that teams have to game plan for. With all due respect to Trent Irwin, I don't think anybody's game planning or trying to figure out what are we going to do to stop Trent Irwin. Now, Trent Irwin still has tremendous value because he's able to return kicks, and he's always going to be able to go on the outside if one of the guys needs to rotate out, and he has the ability to go on the slot too. So I'm not trying to diminish like T.I.'s role, but in terms of talent, like Yoshi and T.I., that's not even a conversation. I think that's disgusting.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I think, like you said though, which I don't get. I think it's disgusting. I mean, no offense to Trent either, man. Nothing against him. But when it comes to Jermaine Burton, bro, he needs to be on the field. He needs to be running these go routes. He brings a completely different dimension that any of these guys really can. You talk about the 40 time. You talk about what he can do there. Now, Yoshi is as fast. But when we talk about Jermaine Burton, not only is he a burner, but he also is a sure-handed burner. And that's very important because when you think about guys like Will Fuller, yes, they were burners, but they could not consistently catch the ball. You're talking about a player that can consistently give you 40-yard plays, and you don't have to worry about whether he's going to drop the ball or not, or whether he's going to be able to secure the ball once he gets it. And that's what Jermaine Burton brings to the table. And if you want to have guys like Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins, you have to have a guy that's going to be able to take the top off of the defense. And there's nobody that does that better on this team than Jermaine Burton. So, in my opinion, him and Trent Irwin, like, yes, you can still throw Trent Irwin in there, but you have to have, and I think I seen you say this, Zim, on Twitter, at least 15 snaps for Burton. Like, putting him at kick return is not it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not – with these new kickoff rules, like, we haven't even seen anybody take one back yet in preseason. Like, how do we know that that's even going to be set up that way? So it's cool to get him some opportunities, but you also got to get him some opportunities on the field where he's going to be able to do his thing. So with that, I'll move on to cornerback 2. This seems like Dax Hill's job. This seems
let's stay on the offensive side real quick.
Okay.
Let's go from wide receiver. I'm trying to paint a picture real quick. On the wide receiver side, you're gonna have those wide receivers. On the running backs, are you carrying 3 running backs? Because the conversation.
Yeah, I'm only doing 3. Like from what we're seeing right now, there's no way that I could justify like Noah Kane on this roster, bro. Like I didn't know who Noah Kane was until the last game. Like there's no way. Now, like you said, if a Samaje Perine, or like people have speculated, if Samaje Perine is cut, sure, you bring him back. But no, I mean, you've got your 3 when it comes to Chase Brown. You obviously have Zach Moss, and then it's Trevion Williams. I don't think it's anybody else after that unless they're planning to cut and grab somebody onto the roster. So I don't think initially. So I think they'll keep 3, and then they'll wait to see like how waivers play out. And if Perine is there, I think then you see him. And I hope it's not going to be like, I don't want to, let me knock on wood. I don't want them to see like where they make make is his name Meme? Meta?
Oh,
Basically Meta.
Meta. Yeah, Meta.
Meta. Like, I don't want to see them keep Meta, then they move off of him, like to sign Pete Ron. Like, I'm not with that. Like, it has to be
I don't think
somebody else. It has to be like a Trey Hill. Keep Trey Hill momentarily, then let him go and grab somebody like Pete Ron. Don't do it for somebody like Meta. We need to keep Meta for sure.
Yeah, the 3 running backs is, those are the 3. Zach Moss, Chase Brown, Travion Williams. I could see a world where they bring in a running back and then make Travion Williams on the practice squad. I don't think anybody will pick him up. And then the guy that I want them to get is I want them to go get Jerick McKinnon. He's literally at home on the couch right now. I think he can do what Chris Evans did. I think he can catch the ball. And one of the things about him, he's one of the best pass protectors in the National Football League, or when he was on he's a free agent. But he would be the vet minimum. It's very low risk. I know it's late in the game, and I doubted they would do it because they probably would have did it before. But I think he adds an element of receiving the football in case like Chase Brown or somebody wasn't available or Zach Moss wasn't available, that you kind of get a little bit of an uptick instead of Travion Williams, and he's a good pass pro. But that and I think Travion Williams, I think you could just sneak him on the practice squad. So that was my take, I guess, on the running back in the battle or whatever. The tight end portion, going to that one, Tanner Hudson is the guy that I think is the odd man out. A lot of people have been talking about McLaughlin maybe is the odd man out, but I can't see a staff drafting a guy and then saying, yeah, we're good on him, whatever. I think Tanner Hudson has a chance to sneak on the practice squad. He was literally out there when the Bengals got him. Teams passed on him like 5-6 weeks and they went and got him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I mean, you're talking about a guy in Tanner that's 29 right now, turns 30. For a guy like McLaughlin that's early in his 20s, has a lot of potential. And people know who Tanner is. Like, if you're talking about you're going to hide him on the practice squad, that's not happening. Like, people had Tanner on their draft board. So if they see the value and
Tanner McLaughlin, right?
Oh, Tanner McLaughlin, my bad.
Okay.
But they're going to see the value there, and they're going to see what he did in the preseason. Like, yes, it was small, but he was able to make plays with the little amount that he had there. So to me, you got a better chance of Tanner Hudson making it through waivers than you do Tanner McLaughlin.
I'm with you. I've seen national media people after Tanner McLaughlin made that play. I've seen like 2 or 3 people.
I just realized both of their names is Tanner.
Yeah, I seen from the national media people, like a couple of them tweet out like there's no way that the Bengals could cut McLaughlin. Like everybody would pick him up, and I think I don't know. I just don't think
Tanner.
I don't think it would make any sense because generally, like when you're drafting a guy, you got to be able to say, this is the guy that is a part of what we're doing. And to walk away from him or cut him would signal like, oh, we made a bad decision. Like, I don't know. Like when you got you got 4 years of him versus Tanner Hudson. I couldn't see it. But
let me ask you this. Tight end 2, Eric All versus Drew Sample. From what it seems like this past weekend, Eric All was doing some stuff in the pass blocking and run blocking game that we haven't seen. And I think Sans pointed this out. Like, it's been a while since we've been able to see a tight end that can kind of do both. I'm not going to say now because obviously right now it's Drew Sample, right? But once we hit like middle of the season, do you think that Eric All can end up being tight end 2? Because I think he has potential to be.
This is very similar to the wide receiver conversation. I think it's a rotation. So, like, one of the things I don't like about Drew Sample is the fact that when he's out on the field, and this is the reason why I wanted us to get Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, is when he's not on the field, you don't care about him as a receiving threat. I think the defense is acknowledging, like, this dude is in here to block. But he's one of the best. So, but when he's out there, it kind of tells you what's going on. So I think there's use for him when you're in the run game. Yeah, I'm going to line up in the AFC North and I'm going to have Drew Sample out there and I'm going to say, yeah, I'm running the ball. I'm about to go get 5 yards. Do something about it, right? But then there's another part of me that says I need to have a different package together where I got a guy in line that you don't know what he's going to do. And Eric All represents that. So the same way I'm saying like Burton, Eric All is like Burton for the tight ends room for me. Give him like
Right.
12 snaps or whatever week 1. Drew Sample might end up around the same amount, but I just think that they both have a role. And but the difference is Drew Sample, nobody cares about game planning for him as a receiving threat.
Playing for Drew Sample. You see him, somebody's like, all right, don't even pay attention to him.
Right. So you know what time it is with him. And then occasionally, he can sneak out into the flat and get it if he doesn't trip up and fall. But he is a really good, they used him as like an H-back and had him in the backfield and pass protecting and stuff. I love that stuff from him. So he has great utilization doing it that way. But then Eric All also has another role, because I do think that Eric All has the makings of being like, I'm not trying to compare him to this, but literally his trajectory and the way that it's set up, it's kind of like how Kittle came in. It's like you
Right.
see the potential, and then it's up to the player to go meet that. And the only thing that's held Kittle back is injuries. Aside from that, he's probably the best tight end, if not the second best tight end in the National Football League. You hope Eric All could get to something like that. But even if he don't, I think that his role on the team for the next 4 years is going to be one of the ones that we like. I think that is a big pick. I think that's a very important part of this team.
I think he's tight end one of the future. It seems like that's how they're treating him, especially once Gesicki is done. I think that they're grooming him to come through and be that tight end in the future. So it's going to be very interesting to see their right tackle. Is Mims going to win that spot, or is it going to be Trent Brown?
I think it's going to be Trent Brown because he's available right now. Now, if Trent Brown gets a little hiccup or something like that, Amarius is going to be right there in the wing. But this is what's so good about this team right now. Just because he's not starting, I look at Amarius Mims like a weapon. So if he isn't starting, I need to see jumbo packages on the end zone. In the red zone. I need to see different things throughout the game where they figure out a way to get Amarius Mims on the field. And I don't think it hurts or puts him in harm's way, but they need to figure out a way to get him out on the field, even if Trent Brown is starting. Who you got starting?
Man, I think, like you said, it's Trent Brown now. But as the season goes on, if Trent Brown has a thing where he misses a couple games and you see Mims go in there and let's say he just kills it, he starts getting, notoriety. And let's just say this. I'm not trying to wish this on Trent Brown. Let's just say Trent Brown misses the Cleveland game, right? You have Mims go out there, and let's say Mims stonewalls Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett doesn't get a sack. He gets some pressures, but for the most part, Amarius Mims wins the battle. Right. How could you go back to Trent Brown after a situation like that? Like, let's say he has a string of like 2 or 3 good performances in a row.
Right.
I don't know if they would pivot back to Trent Brown in that kind of situation because I think he's kind of like, I don't want to put this off on Trent Brown, but I feel like he feels like, I have leverage, or he's moving that way. Like, I'm one of the best tackles in the league. Like, you might not
Right.
bench me type stuff. Right. So I think that's why he's like saying, like, I don't need to play in preseason. I'm one of the top tackles in the league. And I'm just like, the young fella might get you, bro. I ain't saying that it's going to happen, but the young fella might catch you slipping if you miss some games and he comes in and does his thing.
He's been very complimentary of Amarius too, though. So like he's been talking about how Amarius is doing his thing as well too. I honestly think that Trent does feel the way that you're feeling, but I also think that he's man enough from the little bit of information that I do know, that I do think he's man enough to understand that Amarius is the future, and I think he understands that sometimes the future could be now. And if he got dinged up, if the guy wasn't that good, I think he would be somebody that would pout and talk trash. Like, if I'm not even going to say his name because you might just fall out your seat, but like Jonah, whatever his name was, right? Say that was the guy. I think you would hear Trent Brown, but I think he's man enough to say Amarius Mims is better than me. Amarius Mims probably reminds me of what I was when I was younger. I don't think he would feel like no type of way. I think the same way I was talking about getting Amarius in those packages, I think they need to figure out a way to get Trent Brown out there. I saw him in a run rep yesterday, moving, wash somebody right out the play. So it's like the big boy can move. So They need to just figure out a way to get him out there too.
You talking about the guy in Arizona that still isn't good in Arizona? That's who you talking about?
It could
The
be.
guy they said we were hating on. Yeah, we're not gonna speak that name on this show ever again. But with that being said, let's toss it to our friends at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Uno wings, G-Funk wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. It's the Ace to the Zim, M into the B's. Uno wings, G-Funk wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for queuing wings. Say what up to Jordan Battle. We be going to battle. Intercepting balls like CTV did on Seattle. Putting 6 up on AZ. Juice gang amazing. Make sure you come get these wings, cause Cincy stay blazing. And T game be smooth as ice. Your mom make them DVs fold. TV got big levels, and now you already know. Hits so pretty for Uno wings. Cam got the new wings. We call them CTVs. Only at MBs. Ace to the Zim. M into the B's.
Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. Some of the best wings in the city. Make sure you stop in and let them know Ace and Zim sent you. Not only are you going to get the wings, you can get the barbecue. They got the brisket. They got the pork. They got the ribs. Whatever you want, they have it there. The mac and cheese is immaculate. The drinks are immaculate. You can also get ice cream. So definitely be sure to stop in and let them know that Ace and Zim sent you. Let's keep moving on the position battles, bro. Cornerback 2 looks like Dax is to lose. The way that he's played, what he's done, not necessarily that DJ Turner has been bad, but it's like Dax has just been better. Like Dax has been more resilient. Dax has been more consistent. We're looking at some of these PFF grades, 90.2 in coverage, 25 coverage snaps, only 4 targets, only 1 reception allowed, 3 forced incompletions, and a 56.3 passer rating allowed. What can people say? There was a lot of ops talking about, Dax Hill is a bust, and what are you guys going to do with Dax? And then Dax has been playing. Now, I get that it's preseason, but some of these numbers are against starters. Like, this was against Caleb Williams. This was against Anthony Richardson over at camp. This was against a pretty decent Bucs team. So, like, he's finding his way at corner. And obviously, he has the athleticism, to play it. The funniest thing, though, is when he got drafted, when I was looking through Prime, I was telling people, I'm like, he's a fit for outside corner. And they were like, no, there's absolutely no way he could play outside corner. And I'm like, well, he had a couple of snaps at Michigan. It wasn't many, but he played on the outside before. And I was like, with the Bengals, with certain players, they look for certain, sizes, weights, and all of that. And if you have certain attributes, you're going to be able to play the position that they want you to. So it really comes down to that. But I am impressed, bro. Like, I'm not going to lie. I was a little skeptical about the move because I'm like, have we ever seen a free safety switch to corner, outside corner, and be like really good? It almost seems like this is the early part of it, but it almost seems like he feels way more natural at corner than he ever did at free safety. It seems like he's able to just play and not have to think, hey, this person is over here. He just has to think, I'm covering this person in front of me. That's my responsibility, and I had the athleticism to make the plays. What are your thoughts on like what Dax has brought? Do you think DJ Turner has a chance, or you think it's just straight up Dax?
I think it's Dax Hill season. I really do. And I will confidently tell you and tell everybody else when I sit right on this show and I told people I don't know about the transition of him going from safety to corner, and boy, was I wrong. He has looked so good. And it wasn't that, and even if you go back and look at those shows, it wasn't like I was cooking them, but I was just saying that it's such a hard battle for somebody at this late in their career to be able to transition. He has all the talent in the world. Credit to him for not complaining. He could have did a lot of stuff last year. He didn't. He moved forward. He took his L's and he kept it moving. And he came out there for this position, and he's been the best corner on the outside. And I think it makes so much more sense. I don't know if y'all seen in the videos that I was posting. they had DJ Turner in the slot on a couple of those. DJ Turner's size and his skill set to me always scream slot. And I have a theory. I think that they didn't extend Mike Hilton because I think they're grooming Fig or DJ Turner or one of those guys like Dejon Anthony who has nickel, he can play nickel too. They're grooming one of those guys to be the nickel of the future. And I hate it because I think that they should keep Mike Hilton extended for a whole nother year. But if DJ Turner has a route to go, and the fastest route to go, I think will be in the slot because he's just kind of undersized on the outside. Dax Hill yesterday was all over the place, went crazy, cooked everything. And you have to understand, just overall, it gives us an identity on the outside. He's a longer arm. His frame is longer. So now you got CTB on the other side. Same thing. These are two athletic 4-3 guys on the outside that have the ability to defend with long arms and be able to have catch-up speed and super athletic. The Bengals went to a Super Bowl with Eli Apple on the outside. And I'm not saying that Eli Apple doesn't have some skills and different things like that, but let's be honest, already Dax Hill to me is a better player at the position right now just off of camp that we've already seen. Now, he could get cooked. He could maybe get some things that we haven't seen yet when the regular season starts. But as of right now, his profile and everything matches up with what I think we need to do on defense. And I think it's easily Dax Hill at CB2. Somebody made this point earlier today. They were like, it ain't really a CB1 and CB2, really, if you think about loose scheme. The difference is this. I think that CCB matches up very well with a lot of teams' X's. So when you saw him go up against DK Metcalf, that's a match made up for Cantaloupe Brick. Whereas Dax Hill, you might go up against, I don't know, like a Zay Flowers or something like that, where now I have a longer arm guy that can keep up with his speed, and I can give him help on the back end if I need to, if Zay Flowers routes him up. But now I have a bigger corner that's able to tackle him, whether it regardless, and then compare that to DJ Turner. Like now I got a small trying to tackle this guy in a phone booth. It just doesn't really match up to me. And I just think that the way that the team is and how it's aligning itself or whatever, it makes so much sense to have Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt on the outside. And I think that now would be a position of strength.
What about Fig? Where does he fit into this spot? Because I think Fig is a sleeper as well to possibly get some snaps there.
Fig showed us in that game, that preseason game, he got cooked a little bit. So, I like Fig for the future. I think his mentality and everything about him screams who they. Like that's what you want. Somebody like that. I just think that if somebody were to go down, Fig is going to get that call. Don't forget, you're going to have a DJ Ivy on the back end too that's probably going to get pumped at the beginning of the year. So we have guys. And right. Fig is just one of the guys in that room too. The other guy that I was just mentioning too is Dejon Anthony. Do you think that he makes this roster, and what do you think his role is?
Remains to be seen. I think he does actually make it over Tyson Anderson the way that they've been putting him on for opportunities. Safety, I think Von Bell is. We already know that it's a shoe-in, right? Like Jordan Battle, I think it's just going to take the year to learn from up under Von, but I still think Jordan Battle probably rotates in. I still think that he gets some snaps back there, right? Because he's a smart player. But I think that's how the safety position kind of plays out. Speaking of the safety position, one of the people that high point the ball the best in the league on offense, Tee Higgins, right now BETUS is doing a special where they're doing best like this, over 875.5 receiving yards for Tee Higgins. Is this real? 5.5 touchdowns.
Hammer.
Like this is free money. People like Jamar Chase for the ops that are like, oh, Jamar Chase isn't in camp now. This is for you too. Tee Higgins, 875.5. Like that's crazy. I'm taking the over, bro. Are you taking the over on this?
I'm taking it over. The other day, a lot of Bengals fans were like, "What the hell's going on?" I took the over on Burrow's interception. I didn't like to do that because it's blasphemy to talk down on 9. But for Tee Higgins, 875. Even if I'm not even going to finish that sentence. Yeah, over 875. We know what Tee Higgins does.
So, but it does get interesting here because you see 5.5 and you think that that's like easy, right? Let me go through Just
Mhm.
playing devil's advocate. Let me go through Tee Higgins' touchdown counts. 6 in 2020, 6 in 2021,
Mhm.
7 in 2022,
Right.
5 in 2023. If he got 5 in a quote unquote down year, he's getting over that, bro. He's getting over that for sure.
You know the messed up part about Tee Higgins. Excuse me. The messed up part about Tee Higgins is he's always got a Jamar Chase out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's tough because then also you see Mike Gesicki getting used in the red zone. So that one I'm not as strong on. I still would take the over just because I honestly think Burrow has this snarkiness with him where he loves his guys so much. I think that he's going to go out of his way to make sure that Tee Higgins gets the rock this year. And I think he's going to send a message to the Bengals and send a message to everybody without like saying anything. But I think he's going to make sure that Tee Higgins has a great year. He's going to put the pressure on the Bengals to either go and do something with T, or he's going to say, this is a lesson. Don't ever take any of my weapons away from me.
No, for sure, for sure. So if you guys want to get some of that free money, there's a link in the description for that. Zim, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but let's talk guys that we think, or possibly one guy that we think is kind of a sleeper to make the 53. I think you got to start with Meta. That's an obvious one. So is he a sleeper, or do you think like
he is
he's a lot?
That's the biggest sleeper. I think he might be the last man to make the roster because you got to think they already got 3 linebackers. Or I'm sorry, 4. See, the conversation is all right. Logan Wilson, Pratt, ADG. You know that those 3 are going right, but
Right.
Bocce, I will have to look at the guarantees on what they got for Bocce. But signing Meta means that Bocce's on the way out, and I don't think you could have 5 linebackers, bro. Like when I look at the 53,
you think he takes like the Marcus Bailey role? Because wasn't Bocce and Bailey on the same? Like, weren't they both there?
Man, when I do a 53, it's hard to get 5 linebackers on there because when you do, you take away one of these guys in the secondary, and I just can't see it. To me, Meta would be the biggest sleeper. Him and Matt Lee are the 2 last guys on the rock to make the 53 to me. Like, that's how I kind of see it. Dejon Anthony, I think, is on the roster too.
Don't you feel like Meta came out of nowhere? Like, were we just not paying attention? Like,
I knew. Well,
nothing about this guy.
Shout out to Gridiron Graydon, because immediately after the draft happened, UDFA, they said, oh, okay, we like this guy. He's our second. I think that I don't want to say the incorrect thing, but it was between the 2nd or 4th highest producing linebacker, like as far in terms of production. They're big on production. And Peyton Wilson, who I like, shout out to my Wolfpack. They had like 2nd on that list or something, and Meta wasn't that far behind it, and that was the only time I had seen it. And then naturally, people, Bengals fans, I see were like, yeah, bro, he's a dude, and like where what I'm saying, and started giving me info. But aside from that, I didn't say nothing on this show. I probably never said nothing to you, but he is so damn instinctive. He reminds me of Burfict. He's one of them linebackers that he probably isn't. He's so low center of gravity. You probably aren't going to put him on special teams, and that's the weird part about him. So people will be like, "Man, he got to make the roster." I don't think he's a special teamer. I would
put him out there, bro. As many tackles as he was getting,
they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out. But that's the conversation: is Bocce is a special team guy. Bocce is a guy that we've called in key spots before. And if you had to pick between the 2, who do you go with? You know who
I'm going with. Meta World Peace, man. You already know what time it is with me. I mean,
Meta
shout out to
World
Joe
Peace.
Bocce. I think when people say that, they were like, oh, well, did you forget what he did in that one game? Like, yes, I appreciate that. He stonewalled Derrick Henry. That's cool. But I don't remember any plays after that, bro. And that's not a slight at him. But I don't think that one play during a Super Bowl run is enough for me to justify a guy that literally has been flying all around the field. I can't give up on that, bro. Like you said, perfect vibes, bro. Perfect vibes. I mean, I'm rocking the Odell Thurman tonight. So
He got a little bit of
Meta is who I'm rocking with.
Meta represents something that, you know the conversation we was having about Roquan versus JOK. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard this take. I think that JOK, like low key, is maybe better than Roquan, but it's depending on how you look at the position. And JOK represents a super athletic freak that can get anywhere. Roquan represents a traditional linebacker. And to me, Meta is like a traditional linebacker. Instinctive as hell, ready to put somebody on their ass, right? But in coverage, he might be a liability. We don't know about him in coverage, but the reason he went undrafted is because of that. And so you got to pick your poison. So in run games, you will want him out there. But when you go to play the Chiefs or whatever, you ain't running no Meta out there. You feel me? Because Pat Mahomes is going to pick him apart. And
He's
so that's
Baltimore games. He's for them Baltimore games.
But see, the trick is in between. So when he's not active, somebody else that needs their linebacker 3, 4, they're gonna pluck him if they seen the tape that we've been watching. Yeah. He kind of remind me of what's bro that got mad that Mixon trucked him last year. Remember the dude that went to didn't he go to
Cincinnati, man?
Didn't he from
chat? Put it in the chat. I know y'all know exactly who we talking.
Y'all know who I'm talking about, bro. That got trucked at the goal line and was salty after the game or whatever. But that was a dude that was Pace.
Ivan
Pace. That was a guy. He was either a real late round draft pick or either
he was undrafted.
He was undrafted. He reminds me of that. If you go look at my old tweets, I was saying Ivan Pace, bro, we should go pick him up. But it's hard for a lot of teams to find that role if that guy isn't going to be the Mike. And so to have him in the back of your linebacker group is tough. That's kind of like a luxury. So if you got into a jam on the offensive line or something like that, you're cutting them. But the problem is a team that doesn't have a Jermaine Pratt or a Logan Wilson, they're gonna be like, yeah, give me that dude. Like I'm out to Ivan Pace him. Ivan Pace is the starting linebacker. Like there's a world that I live in that Meta could do that for another team. You know what I'm saying? It's just our scheme and what we got in place. He couldn't play every week, and so that's the tough part about him. As talented as he is.
Nah, for sure. We're gonna toss it to another one of our sponsors here. Fans of Cincy. Fans of Cincy is the place that you want to take and register for all of your games, especially on the road. You're going to be able to get all-inclusive, literally almost everything when it comes to tickets, tailgates, transportation to and from the airport. They're going to have you covered. Tickets to the game, fan connections, hotel stay. You can't beat it. All-inclusive trips to Nashville, Dallas, Charlotte, LA, Kansas City. You could go to Burrowhead. You can go to Burrowhead with Fans of Cincy, or if you're at Burrowhead, you can chill at the tailgate, and they're gonna have basically local caterers and things like that for you to be able to get that food. All drinks are gonna be included. So if you want some adult beverages before you hit the game, and you want to chill out with some Bengals fans, there's usually a DJ going. Fans of Cincy's got you covered. You can check them out. fansofcincy.com. If you have any questions, I suggest you direct them to them on Twitter at Fans of Cincy. So be sure to check them out, fansofcincy.com.
Can I say that I will be in Kansas City at that tailgate? So if you want to, vibe out with me, get lit before the game, have a drink responsibly, come holler at me at the Fans of Cincy one. I'll be in Kansas City, so come on, get lit. I know you probably watch this and be like, man, is this dude really like that in real life? I am. I'm really him. So come on out to that Fans of Cincy joint. I'm gonna show you this in real time. We're gonna have fun. It's gonna be lit. If you got to get your travel needs and all these different things together, Fans of Cincy is the best place to get it all together. They helped me with my trip, so you should do the same.
Yeah, and then also we want to thank Elise, Jesse for stopping by the Bengals Post podcast. So be sure to check that episode out. It's really good. Check out everything we got going on the Wincinnati Network. So check us out. Check them out. Jake and Mon do a great job over there. We will be back next week, next Monday, to discuss likely this scrimmage. I don't even know what to call this because I don't know who's playing. But we'll be talking about that and probably more so roster breakdowns. Hopefully, we're talking about a Chase extension.
I was just about to say, man, what if we could just get an extension? Like, should we just do we should do something special, like a 10-minute, like, I don't know, like a 30-minute just chase. Like, let's just watch Chase highlights and celebrate or something like that. Like, Chase is like one of them things, in the history of football. Me and you, they're gonna search Jamar Chase and they're gonna search Team Chase and all that stuff like that. And we're gonna pop up on this Wincinnati thing. We're gonna pop up on Orange is the New Black. It's a part of like how we got to this point that we at. I see 1,800 people, almost 2,000 people in here. Some of y'all are on Twitter. Make sure that you don't make the mistake of just watching us on Twitter. Even if you are op and you hate my guts, please come on over to YouTube so that you can come into the comment section and tell me how you hate our guts. And tell Ace how much you think that you hate that his Odell Thurman jersey. You can't participate in the conversation unless you subscribe to us on YouTube. We are two gentlemen just trying to make our way in this world. We do have some great sponsors that we love and we do adore, but we rely on the fans to make sure that they get our word out there. And we're not terrible people. I promise you, if you come and help us out and come on over to the show, send this link to somebody else and let them know, hey, look, they was really breaking down the Jamar Chase contract. They were really taking a deep dive at the roster stuff. And also, like Ace was just saying, that Bengals post show, make sure y'all go check that out. That is a great interview with at least Jesse. Ace has this pulled up right now. I'm going to talk to you about New Strike City in a second because I ordered me a couple of those shirts just now. But also, if you want to go to Burrowhead properly, you might need a Slim Shiesty Burrowhead shirt. What better way to pull up at any damn stadium right now with a big-ass picture of Joe Burrow's head on your damn shirt? Pull up, go to zimhude.com and go get you one.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely be sure to get you that Slim Shiesty, like Zim is saying. Dope shirt right now. He's got two of them, so pick which one you want. It's a front and back. We also had a Trace Amigos 2.0 Quattro, where it's got 4 instead of 3 this time. So we got Burton in there. We got Yoshi in there. We got T in there. We got Jamar in there. And then we got the 513 on the back. Migos inspired as well. If you are a fan of hip-hop, you know exactly where that 513 is coming from. So definitely be sure to check both of those out. We appreciate the support. Yep. And like Zim was saying, man, make sure you
need to pull up in Kansas City with that too. With the 513. Yes, sir. You got to let them know where you're coming from.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's when Joe Burrow wore the Migos shirt the first time. He wore it when he played KC. So that will be a good opportunity to wear it as well. But shout outs to all of our sponsors. Most importantly, BETUS. Appreciate them for sponsoring this show. It's been a great partnership so far. So shout out to them. And the Wincinnati podcast comes at you live every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Turn on those notifications if you're on YouTube. And we will see you guys next Monday.
Yes, sir.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.